is Danielle Stewart, and I'm the ESL coordinator at Russellville School District. Today I'm going to share with you a presentation about why we at Russellville all smile in the same language. If you should need to contact the ESL department or myself, my office is room 260 at Russellville High School. If you're familiar with the high school, that's the glass offices right by the cafeteria. My office number is 968-3106. This is also an important number in case you need assistance with parent interpretations, communications, or also written translations. If you should need to call or text me, and you can anytime if you have a question, my cell phone number is 264-7877. My email is listed there. And another great resource is to check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/RSDESL. There we post upcoming events like our cafecitos, which are the parent outreach meetings to our Hispanic community. We also post upcoming events for students like our Passport Immersion, which was our intensive English summer camp. So check us out there also. So I'd like to pose a question to you when we're discussing the school demographics for Russellville. How many students do you think Russellville has that go home to a household that speak another language besides English? Our total enrollment is, the last time I checked, approximately 5,200 or 5,200. So of that approximate 5,000, how many language minority students do you think that Russellville has? The answer is 1,112. So 21% of our total enrollment go home to a household that speaks, reads, or writes another language besides just English. It can be their second language, it could be their third language, but there is another language present in the house. Most of the time you see us refer to those as LMS, Language Minority Student. So what are the biggest schools of LMS students? Here I have a list, and it's from biggest to smallest. Oakland Heights has our biggest, but the high school, junior high, RMS, all of these schools are very close. Oakland Heights has the biggest Hispanic population. However, RMS, Crawford, and Sequoia have our pockets of our Arabic population. Center Valley also has the district's Chinese population. So depending on what building you're at, depends on what demographic that you will see. Of those students, where are they from? Most of your students are going to be Spanish speaking. In fact, 93 or 94% of our students are Spanish speaking of those language minority students. However, we do have an Arabic population that is mostly from Saudi Arabia or Yemen. So in this list, it starts from the greatest number of students from ESL to the least. So the biggest population demographic that we have is from El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. Those are all Central American countries. El Salvador is half of the area of Arkansas. So you wouldn't imagine that we would have that many from El Salvador. Where you think about Mexico is such a large country, but we don't have as many ESL students from there. So this graphic just gives you a demonstration of what I had previously said. Most of our students here at Russellville School District that are ESL are mostly from Central America. Some are second or third generation, but we do have quite a few newcomers that are new to the country. If you look at those percentages, this graphic is not representative of just Russellville, it's actually the United States. You can see that Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras have very big percentages, and Mexico only has 5%. So one stereotype is that most ESL students are from Mexico, but that is not true, as you can see. So of course some of these kids, especially the newcomers, have reasons for apprehension when they begin school at Russellville School District or any school within the United States. Some of the newcomers are not only learning a new language, but they're also recovering from PTSD from fleeing their country. Their countries could have wars or violence. A lot of them are coming because they're political refugees. Some are here alone, and they may live with a distant family member, and some haven't seen their mom or dad in years. When the younger siblings arrive, many of the older siblings are the sole financial provider for the younger ones. So our high schoolers, a lot of them leave school to go work. Now, with that being said, I don't want you to think all ESL students are newcomers, because they're not. Some of our ESL students in Russellville School District are second and third generation, which means they probably speak English very well, but they still need additional help with reading and writing and becoming literate in that second language. So what are some ways to help your ESL students? This is a very brief list of how to get started. However, we're going to have lots of PD throughout the year that you can sign up for to really get in depth on how to help your ESL students. First of all, before we begin the list, make sure and check out the ELP standards that are listed on the Arkansas Department of Education website. Those are a great resource to get started. Number one, make it visual. As you'll see in the picture to the side, the teacher's talking, and eventually it just becomes gibberish. You can imagine if you saw a paper that they handed out and it was in all Vietnamese, how you would feel if there were no pictures or visuals. So make sure you attach a visual with everything you do if you have a large population of ESL students for sure. Build in more group work. Communicate with the ESL teacher or the ESL coordinator. I've given you my contact information, but also remember there's an ESL teacher at every single building. Not only is there one that just does ESL, but there are also over 60 ESL endorsed teachers at Russellville School District that would be willing to help you with anything that you needed to answer those questions that you might not know about ESL. First and foremost, my door is always open, so never feel like you can't ask me. Number 4, honor the silent period. The silent period is that time when students are still listening and gaining that input into their brains about the language, and they don't talk. They're just listening. So don't always assume that your students will instantly start speaking in English. It may take them a little bit of time before they're comfortable to do that. Use sentence frames, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. Also pre-teach whenever possible. Give them those key vocabulary words with pictures that you know that are going to come up in your lesson. Learn about the backgrounds of your students. Try to do some home visits or some calls before you actually have an issue with an ESL student. Be sensitive to their language ability. When they first arrive, you definitely don't want to ask them to speak in front of the whole class. So just be sensitive that they are learning and try to have those one-on-one conversations with them until they become confident enough to share with the whole class. So here are the sentence frames that I have previously discussed. Sentence frames are super easy. They're easy formats for ESL students to be able to write. So you're basically providing them a framework for them to put in those harder words. So if you'll look on the right side where it says I like blank, I like is considered mortar. And then the important word that you put in there is like a brick. So if you'll provide them those sentences with that mortar, those easier words, then they can then take those harder words and put them in there to build more complex sentences so that they can be able to write something instead of trying to guess what to write. So you notice on the right side, they're easier sentences, like my favorite blank is blank. But then on the opposite side, on the left side, you actually have more complex sentences. You can actually use these with your mainstream students, not just with ESL. I agree or disagree because. I don't think that will work because. These are all great sentence frames to be able to get any kid to write at a different level, or maybe to provide a format for the lower levels to be able to write. Important ideas for teachers, especially if you just are starting and you don't have a lot of experience with ESL students. We've already talked about a lot of students who come from other cultures outside of the United States. When they are learning to speak, they want it to sound perfect when they speak, so a lot of them won't share verbally until they're at the point where they feel that their English is perfect. So if you can start creating an environment where they feel more comfortable, then they will start using that English sooner. Don't water down the curriculum for ESLs at lower levels of English. And don't expect the same product from all the students. It's important for teachers to separate language ability from content knowledge. So to sum that up, what I mean is that if you are studying the life cycle of a butterfly, for some of your students, depending on grade you teach that, you may have them write a paragraph or maybe even an essay if it's about an English concept in a harder, more upper level class. But for your new to the country kids or your ESL students, depending on what their LPAC says, which is what you get their accommodations and modifications from, you may have that student just write a sentence or point to the life cycle of a butterfly or take picture cards and arrange them in a sequence so that you're still having them show you the same content as the mainstream. But instead of them having to write a 5-paragraph essay, they are showing you their content through pointing, demonstrating, or yes or no answers. We have lots of services for ESL students at Russellville School District. I'm very excited. I mentioned previously that we have over 60 teachers that are ESL endorsed or highly ESL trained. We have, for K through 4, for kindergarten through 4th grade, we have ESL endorsed teachers, and also services with the ESL teacher or paraprofessional if they need additional English services. 5 through 12, grades 5 through 12, we have Language Academy classes, which are sheltered English, ESL, intensive English classes where students receive the same content, but they also have that highly trained ESL teacher. For example, they'll have an English class, but it'll be with an ESL teacher, or an Algebra 1 class, but it will be with an ESL teacher. Also, we have Language Academy 1 at the junior high and the high school, and this is our new, this is the second year we've done it, newcomer program for new to the country students. It focuses on highly intensive English, survival English, and also cultural immersion so that they can become familiar with Russellville School District and just culture in the United States in general. So what can you expect from the ESL department this year? You may have lots of questions, or you may not even know the questions you need to ask for later because you're just getting started. You'll have several professional development opportunities. Some of those opportunities will include trainings on cultural diversity, also ESL teaching strategies to help your ESL students succeed. I'll be training / giving you information on elevation, which is the way we track accommodations, modifications, and basically it's like an IEP, but for ESL students, so that you can know what they need to do to succeed in your class. And also it'll tell you what language level they are. If they're language 1, they're lower. If they're language 5, then they're higher. Also, we will have training and opportunities for you to get translation services so that you can communicate efficiently with your parents that speak another language. I look forward to working with you this year. I know some of you are new Language Academy teachers, and I'm just really excited that you're at Russellville School District, and please feel free to contact me for any information you need about ESL.